I am going to tell you about video analytics solutions in Sibur. I work for IT, and I have only worked for a petrochemical company for 2 years. Before that, I specialized in processing of visual signals. Video analytics is what I do in my job today. Let me say a couple of words about Sibur, the company I work for. It's a holding company that has a lot of sites. We have 25 plants. The refinery plants. We employ about 25,000 people. The refineries are all over the country, mostly in Siberia. We have one plant in Voronezh region that is more than 85 years old, and we have another refinery that has been only built a year ago. We process various oil products. We make plastics, we make resins and rubbers, and we use petrochemical products as inputs in this production. We have closed-cycle production. We cannot control the product in the process of making. But there are some exceptions. And of course, we can only check the quality of the end product once it's made. Video analytics systems. We have big sites, and they are located in faraway places, usually in rough climates. There's a lot of explosive materials and potentially hazardous operations. So we have a task to reduce the number of walkarounds for the purpose of process observation and install a bunch of cameras. Initially, we had a situation that you see on the left-hand side of the screen. There would be 100 different pictures on a single monitor, and it would be very difficult to see something in those multiple screens. So we were given the task to walk away from this kind of wallpaper. In the normal situation, an operator would not see anything on the screen. Once something goes wrong, the screens showing an anomaly would immediately pop up on the monitor. There are various situations that we look after. There are incidents and accidents that we need to detect, and there is also a normal supervision task. We are watching some parameters that tell us about the quality of the product, and we also monitor the status of equipment. We see whether everything goes on as it should be. We must make sure that there is no threat of equipment stopping. Once we stop equipment for maintenance and repair operations, we also use the monitoring system to make sure that everything is done properly. We needed to have quite a smart video analytics system. When we deal with system deployment, it does not mean that the system works well and is useful for the company. The system may be there, but the employees may not be using it. We also should make sure that the system should work as well as it did in the beginning 2 years down the road. There are several scenarios that we want to implement. We have quite a zoo of different solutions. We have a video surveillance systems. There are cameras installed in different parts of our production facilities. They belong to different generations. They have been there for different periods of time. There are access control systems that also have to be integrated into an overall solution. And there is a labor safety component as well. There have also been quite a few video surveillance and video analytics systems that have been installed in the past. The total cost of ownership of the zoo is very high. The equipment becomes obsolete. Some of the older hardware goes out of order. Another negative factor has to do with the changes in production facilities. There may be various conditions. When people work, they can move a camera slightly, they can bump into it, and it is going to change the focus, and that is going to distort the image coming from a camera. There may be a lot of dust in a space, and that is going to negatively impact the ability of a camera to detect things. We decided not to reinvent the wheel. We did not want to replace everything that the company had. Instead, we wanted to pull everything together. We wanted to have very many eyes that would be connected to one brain. We wanted to collect a lot of data from very many different sources, from video surveillance system being one of them, from IoT sensors, from the SCADA system sensors, and all of that should be connected to one operator's interface. We use a lot of the equipment that we have inherited as a part of the system. So this is the before and after picture that you can see in this chart. We have a lot of smart cameras. On the left-hand side, this is what an operator would see a year ago. There are smart cameras and regular cameras that belong to the video surveillance systems. Plus, there are some cameras that were specifically put in place to control various processes. Today, an operator would only see images when certain sensors send an alert, and due to passing of a threshold, the system gets triggered and puts an image on the screen. We have done it this way, and the overall cost of ownership of the solution has not increased much. This is important when you look at the system of this scale. We have seen quite good savings through use of the system, and we were able to make enough to develop the next generation solution. We are watching the entire system of video surveillance. It is growing and it is getting better as technologies emerge and become available. We make sure that all cameras are located in perfect places. We may see changes on production floor, equipment may move around, and we need to relocate cameras to follow the position of the relevant equipment. There is another important consideration. When we're talking about manufacturing sites and production facilities, we must realize that we collect a huge volume of data, and all this big volume of data must be analyzed properly. This, again, has to be done in a lean way so that we don't get overloaded. We are processing big data. Many of you work in manufacturing, and you know that this big data does not come out of nowhere. You have to collect it first. So this is the big picture of our production management system. There is yet another tool which we have. That is the smart video surveillance system. We have cameras, we have detectors. Together, they give us quite a bit of information that we can use to build models. We can take a broader look at what goes on at our facilities. We can integrate this solution with IoT systems. We can connect various advisor systems, and eventually we make more products. We make production better and leaner. This brings me to the end of my presentation. You can see my email address. Please feel free to contact me if you have questions. We market our solution. We can install it at many different manufacturing facilities, should you be interested in that. And now I'm ready to take questions. Please write your questions in the chat. We would appreciate that. We are making time to answer questions. While you are working on your questions, I am going to ask one myself. Vadim, please tell us how many production sites have you covered with your smart video surveillance system and video analytics system? How long did it take you to deploy these systems? Well, as of the number of companies, the number of production facilities, I can tell you that we have covered 60% of all cameras installed in our production facilities. 60% of them have been integrated within smart video surveillance systems. So that's what we have achieved over 18 months' time. As of the deployment time, well, it depends on what your cameras are pointed to. If you have a simple process that's easy to monitor, you don't really have to have anything super tricky, then it would take 1 man-hour to fix that camera and put it within a system. When you have something much more complex, when you have to be able to evaluate the operation of equipment, that takes much more time. We're talking about a few months. You would build the system first, test it, and then put it in production. But like I said, over